Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
And now, coming live from the Midwest Racks and Rod studio, it's the Outdoor Show with your host, Scott Biscobing, with your producer, Drew Biscobing, with special in-studio guest, Matt Pat Johannsen.
Pap is in the house. How's it going, Matt?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. We're back, guys, and we're going to get into all of that here in just a minute, but word from our sponsors.
And tonight's episode is brought. It's been a hot minute since I've done this, folks. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Tagged and Bagged. They specialize in pre-taxidermy packaging for waterfowl. Their mission is to provide hunters with the highest quality packaging products to ensure preservation of a hunter's prized trophy. Tagged and Bagged products are made with the best materials and are designed to withstand the toughest hunting conditions. Taggedandbagged.net. That's right, folks. Taggedandbagged.net. You know it. Get on it. And by Bucket Ready. Bucket Ready offers premium food plot seed for the best results when attracting wildlife to your property. Knowing what deer prefer, when they prefer it, and putting the best seed together for deer in your special hunting spot is what Bucket Ready Performance Food Plot Seed Mixtures is all about. BucketReady.com. Oh, what are we going to do? Are we going to get on it?
The cheese factor is high in this show, if you haven't noticed already yet, man. We are all about the cheese. So, yeah, a little bit of change and setup and personnel here tonight. As you notice here, Drew is in the producer seat tonight. He's filling in for producer Luke.
That's right, folks. Sorry, like I said, it has been a very hot minute, and I forgot a lot of what I am doing.
It's been a while since you've had to produce a show. Like, I'm thinking
A year? I don't know.
Let's go with 3 studios ago.
Yeah, let's go with that.
That's
I
a
think
good
I
timeline.
might have done one.
You did. I think you did at the last studio. Yeah, you had to do one.
Keep in mind, my face is better suited on this side of things. My skill set is not suited for either.
There it is, folks, the self-deprecation that you get every week from Drew here. So, yeah, and when I say every week, we haven't done a show here in the last several, and our apologies for that. Well, for one, we had Turkey Camp 3 weeks ago, but I think we had announced that we weren't doing a show that week because we were heading up to Turkey Camp. And then the following week, we were supposed to be back up again hunting, and unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. If you saw the post we had out yesterday, apologizing to you guys, we've been dealing with some family health issues. Our mother is not doing well at all. She's been in and out of the hospital, mostly in for over a month now. And so it's a trying time for all of us as a family. We've had to take some time away from a lot of things, our personal lives and jobs and obviously this, to spend time with her up at the hospital, helping my dad out with things. We just got them moved and stuff. So the timing of a lot of things have been really, really tough for all of us. And Since that post yesterday, kind of filling you guys in, I just want to say thank you to everybody who reached out, whether it be on that post or the amount of messages through in the DMs was incredible. And to know that you guys are praying for her and for our family and thinking about us and being understanding with us during this obviously difficult time. We greatly appreciate it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Our core group of followers and that, you guys are great. We really appreciate you guys rolling with the punches with us over the years. We can't say enough about you guys and the guys on the team. We're lucky to have you guys. So with that said, it feels really good to be back in the studio again here. And hopefully we don't have any technical difficulties because, again, we haven't had time to really get things going. Fortunately, our good friend Matt here, who I'm sure you probably recognize his face from a lot of fishing posts over the last several years here. He also happens to be Drew's neighbor. So that's how we met, Matt. Matt's an Iowa guy. And I know, guys, what you're going to say is, why did somebody who's into the outdoors move from Iowa to Wisconsin? And usually goes the other way. But Matt's more of a fisherman and the fishing's probably a little better here than it is.
Yeah.
So, definitely. You do hunt and you have hunted and you've killed some nice bucks and stuff. It's not hard to do in Iowa, though.
No.
I mean, it's like shooting fish in a barrel from what I understand.
Pretty much.
But, no, so I ran into Matt and I was like, we think we're going to be able to pull off a show this week. Would you like to be a guest? We wanted to have you on anyways at some point, and well, what better time than the present, I guess. So we appreciate you joining us here today. And I'm telling you what, guys, I might lose some articles of clothing before the show is over. It is hot in this studio. I feel like I'm just glistening. I need a makeup a team here to powder my face off. It is warm in here. I cranked the air on when I got in, and it is extremely warm. But we got some cold ones to keep us cool. So Matt,
Yeah.
how's it going? You just got back from where?
I just got back from Lake Erie around Oak Harbor, Ohio. Did a walleye trip there. It was awesome. It's the second time I've done it, and I would do it again. It's an incredible trip. It's a great value. You bring home a ton of fish, and the cost is super reasonable. So
Sure.
Ohio, that part of Ohio, it kind of feels like a depressed version of Iowa. So you get a lot for your money there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what outfit or guide
Okay.
service was this?
Seabreeze Charters out of Oak Harbor. It's not that far. The worst part for us in Wisconsin is getting through Chicago.
Yes, always.
And then once you're through Chicago, once you get to Gary, it's like 4.5 hours.
Right. Indiana's the Autobahn.
It's just super fast. And then the last half hour or so, it's kind of like just country driving until you get to the lake. And
Yeah.
it's the largest outfitter on Lake Erie. They have like 30 boats. They have, so you're going to get, if you call, you're going to get, unless it's like the early spawn, the walleye spawn, which is kind of what we got the tail end of. Mm-hmm. And it's just insane. I've heard something, there's so many millions of walleyes in that lake where they're just, you catch a 30-inch fish and they're like, keep it. They don't want you to throw it back.
Yeah.
They're like, it's in no danger of being over harvested. You don't have to feel bad about taking all your fish home. It's a
Right.
great trip for meat harvesting.
And that is obviously a thing, we're hearing that more and more in Wisconsin, and that there's a little more of kind of a sense of, we need to start thinking about keeping these fish respawning and repopulating and that. And that's with a lot. And I think, the argument is like, well, the best way to do that is bag limits, because with certain species of fish and that, the bag limits are arguably on the high side. Mm-hmm. When you get some of these guys that go out there day after day and they hit their limit, Whether I don't care what it is, if it's bluegill, I mean, that's, if you're out there a lot, and then you're going to hear the argument too. Well, no, that's never going to be a thing. But I think there's got to be somewhat of a balance. And if Nick Faber was here, I think he could have touched on that in terms of like up in the Green Bay area. I mean, we had Isaac Lackish on, and we talked about that a little bit on that episode as well. So it's nice to hear, at least Lake Erie, that's not a thing, that it's just an overabundance almost. So I'd be curious to find out from anybody else if you are also fishing here. And I know a lot of guys are. That seems to be, the hot spot. If you're not up in the Bay, in Green Bay, Lake Erie is the place to be. And you said this is your second time?
Yeah, this is the second time. It's so convenient. They have 3-bedroom trailers, 2-bath trailers, sleep 6 people. So you can, and that's kind of what you want. You want to fill your boat of 6.
Yeah.
And then have your, full trailer of 6, so that it's about $150 a person per day for lodging and for your guided boat.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's stupid cheap.
And then to have a shot at a trophy too. So
yeah.
This year the biggest fish was 24.5, so nothing huge, but 2 years ago we did catch a 29 3/4 inch. So
on this trip.
Yeah, on the same 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago.
2 years ago that we caught the big one, but
what was it like this on this trip? I know you sent me pictures, and I apologize. I wasn't able
no worries.
to pull them all up, but it looked like you guys did really well.
Yeah, we did do well. So mostly when you get out there, the walleyes will all be kind of spawning in the flats, and you just drift over them, and then you just use hair jigs, no bait, and then and you just catch a ton of those 15 to 18 inch walleyes. All the males that are all fighting over the females there, but once you kind of dial in your jigging technique, that's like the fastest way to fill up your limits. Like 2 years ago, the very first day, the bite was on, the jig was on, and you leave at 5:45 in the morning, and it was 9:30, and 6 guys had limited out.
Yeah,
and we probably threw half of them away. They were under 15.
Right.
So that was insane. This year it was a little bit later. We went 2 weeks later. And so there weren't as many of those, you fill up your bag with those males, and then you go out and you troll for the post spawn females. And then that's where you get the bigger fish.
Yeah.
Probably averaged, last year, the trolling, the average size was around 24.
Wow.
And then this year we had a bigger size on the jig. So I would say our average size this year was probably around 19 or 20.
So Matt, you said that you troll then for the females. So it is true then that fat bottom girls really do make the rock and roll go round.
Yes,
that is true.
It is.
I concur.
Cheese it up.
What was the biggest fish you guys caught on this trip?
24.5.
24.5.
Yeah.
So no real
monsters. Just a real solid. It just seemed like about everything we caught was like 20 inches.
Yeah.
Which
is awesome. That's fun.
Yeah.
That is a lot of fun catching 20-inch walleye.
Yeah, is great. And you're catching, I know people don't love it, but like this is where the Iowa comes out, You're going to hook into a big sheep's head, and they're fun to fight.
I know. I mean, I guess if I fished Bago on a regular basis, it would get annoying, but I still have a little bit of fun. It gets old as the day goes on.
Sure.
And you're like, damn it, another sheephead. But yeah, they're fun. I mean, it's catching fish, right? I guess it's all about what what level of fisherman you are, and
Yeah,
I know some guys that eat them. So, and I'm pretty sure you would.
that is true.
I know for a fact you would.
Yeah.
And you would have them at the block party, you'd have them
I
fried
would.
up for the black perch.
I might not put sheep's head out at the black party, but however, you're also weeding through all these white perch.
Yeah.
And that kind of looks like a white bass, sort of.
Yeah.
And the guide was like, throw those back. And I'm like, that was hard for me.
That felt wrong.
That felt wrong. Yeah. But
To that point, we did have a comment here from Kim. She wanted to know, are we going to eat some of that fish at the block party
oh, absolutely.
and or annual Halloween Matt fish fry?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the pressure's off us a little bit.
Yeah.
You probably got a pretty good stockpile right now. So we don't have to.
Yeah. Scott and I usually.
We don't have to fry up largemouth.
Yeah.
which we've
done. We have done.
We've done. And
I thought it was delicious.
everybody who ate it. Everybody who ate it was like, they had no idea. Like, do you know what that is?
Fish.
No, it's delicious fish. Like, it's largemouth bass from the river. No way. Like, yeah, it is. And like, honestly, it's other than, probably the cleaning of it and stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's good eating.
Yeah, we've had some good diversity in our fish fries with bluegill and crappie and
Just it's
Smallmouth,
a mixed
largemouth.
bag stuff,
Even-
and you cut those largemouth fillets up small enough, nobody can tell the difference.
Nobody knows.
In fact, I would, like I mentioned, I think there was somewhat of a consensus. It was kind of a crowd favorite.
Yeah.
So, but
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it wasn't like that had special breading either.
No.
It's not like you did anything different with that breading compared to some of the other ones. So don't be afraid to eat them, guys. It's not always about catch and release. Sometimes you got to keep a few and fill the belly.
Yeah, that's one good thing about that Seabreeze charter is every single trailer has a full deep freeze. So every year you bring your if you got like a Cabela's food sealer, you can after you clean your fish and prepare them, seal them, throw them in the freezer, and then they're perfect for transport.
Yeah.
And the other part is, so you catch, 36 fish a day, and then what do you do with them? And then they have fish cleaning services available.
Okay.
And it's like $2 per fish, or $2.50 if you want the cheeks as well.
Sure.
But like it's a lot of times you get off the water at 11 or 12, and what else are you going to do?
Right. But drink beer and clean fish.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good time in itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And eat cheeks.
Eat cheeks. Your mic is off again.
I know.
It's just echoing in here. Oh, good to have you back there, Drew. All right. So what else? Oh, my mind is just a pile here. You got plans to go next year?
Yeah, definitely. I think,
I want to go.
yeah, it's pretty fun. The group we go with, we were kind of, believe it or not, we're like the young guys in the group. Most people are retired, and so we kind of just were the fill in, and then and the fishing is so good, and to catch that 30-inch walleye, that's what everybody wants to do, and to have a legitimate shot at it every year.
Yeah.
It's just a nice way, and plus it's so much earlier than we really get to fish. When does our season start? Like
Last weekend.
last weekend. So, get out a couple weeks before, and it's actually a little bit nicer there. There's times where I'm still wearing a stocking hat, walking my dogs here, and you get down there and, a good 15 degrees warmer, and the lilacs will be in bloom. And
I was going to say, how were the conditions?
the conditions this year were, pushing 80 the first day, and then in the mid 60s the next two.
Not much of a chop out there?
Not much of a chop. Now that's the one thing is like, it's not like, it's a wavy lake.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, one of those pictures I sent you, did you see the guy's hook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell that story.
Yeah. So with the guy, the water got a little bit choppy, and we got the trolling boards all out. About 75% of all the rods. There's 6 rods on each side, so 12 rods total you're trolling, and we almost quite got them set up, but but the sun just came up, and as soon as that sun comes up, it's just the walleye go crazy in that low light condition. And we got like 7 fish in 10 minutes, and 4 of them were keepers. And, things get tangled and things didn't get put away right. And so we, the guide's kind of, we got to get our shit together, and we got to, get back out here and take advantage of the bite when it's on.
Oh, and that is not to interrupt you, but because I know where the story's going and I'm going to forget or whatever, but like, we've been up on the flowage and that fishing, and it's right at evening time in the crappie. And that, that window is so small, and it's just fast and furious, like 3 guys at a time are pulling fish and that, and then something gets tangled, and I was like losing my mind in that. 'Cause it's like, by the time I get this, reset up or, like it's going to be off. It's like you gotta get that line back in the water and that, and start pulling those crappies up. So I can understand his frustration with like,
oh yeah,
like this is a window. You gotta you gotta strike while the striking's
sometimes
hot.
you might go an hour without a bite, and then all of a sudden, you'll just get triple. Things are crazy. Anyway, the waves were going, and the guy went to brace himself, and he grabbed the rod, which was sticking in the rod holder, but it had the treble hook, the lure right down where he grabbed, and the treble hook got completely. I've never seen a hook buried that deep. and our guide was just like, well, I guess start reeling them in. We gotta get him to the hospital.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and when you told me that, I was like, because normally it's like, well, was there a way to push it through to get the tip, and then get a side cutters and cut the barb off, cut the end off and then pull it through. But you said it went in, and I saw the picture. It was kind of a little bit hard to tell, but it looked like it was all the way down and way into the meat of the palm of his hand there.
Yep.
At the base of his thumb.
I don't mean to raise any flags here, but your producer's about to pass out. So we could just
move along.
Moratorium on all
No,
treble
I'm sweating.
all treble hook talk. So, but yeah, so he had to go to the hospital, huh?
Yeah, I went to the hospital. They numbed him up, and then they were able to push it through.
So they were able to push it through.
They were, but they wouldn't have been able to do it without him.
Without going to
without being numb.
No,
it was.
It was that deep. Yeah,
it was that deep.
Sweet fancy Moses.
But you said because he was part of a little bit of part of the tangle situation, right?
Yeah.
And then he does this, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, kind of like, he doesn't exclaim or anything like that. He's he's just kind of like, kind of hiding out, right? Not wanting to tell anity. He's got this hook stuck in his hand.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go home. So
how long before he finally said something?
Just people were like, you have this gigantic lure hanging off your hand, and then guy saw it and was just like, oh, we're going in, and we're like, what? Why are we going in? So, but the guide was great. Got us picked up, got us in, had somebody waiting at the dock. This is our last day, and this is our last day to harvest, get, as much meat as we can. Yeah. And we do it where you fish the last day. So you 5:45, you're at the boat, you're checked out of your trailer, and then you're fishing, you clean them, you pack it, and you drive back home.
And then you go home.
Yeah. So you get that one more days of limits.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? So did he drop him off?
He dropped him off,
and then you guys went back out,
and then we went out. But we're like, listen, like, okay, we got to give him the fish so that that's his limit. Yeah, we don't want that to count against ours.
Right.
So that's what we did, and limited out. We still limited out.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you lost out on too much time or.
No. And when you find that sweet spot for the bite, I mean, it happens so fast. So
sure. He's over there sweating away too. Is it the sweat or is it the heat? Is it the temperature?
It's the hook, man.
It's the
hook.
Wait till it happens to you. It's happened to all of us. I mean, to different degrees. You've had it happen, right?
Yeah, I've had it happen. Never where I've had to push it through, though.
Yeah.
I hope it never does.
Right. Yeah. Knock on wood. It happens though, and especially if you fish long enough, it's you know, guys that it's happened multiple times. I in a hand is fine. There's so many other worse places, you know, with casting in that, you know, in the face, in the eye. Okay, I should stop. We are going to lose Drew here. All right, so that happened. But yeah, so overall it was a good trip, huh?
Yeah, great trip. Great trip.
And it was your birthday weekend too.
Oh yeah, it was my birthday. So it was kind of perfect. Just, you know, where would you want to spend your birthday? And you're just Lake Erie. I don't know. It is, you know, the water. It's crazy. It's almost like, you know how Lake Michigan is too. It's just so with what is it, zebra mussels? Mm-hmm. They clean it up so much, so it's super clear.
Clear, yeah. But I think that can also make things difficult though too.
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of times for the troll, then when it rains, then you're finding those areas where it's a little bit cloudier,
yeah.
and you don't have the visibility, and then
Right.
then you're trying to get out of the clear water,
Yeah.
into the muddier water.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely something that I have not yet gone and done yet, but I would like to. And if people are looking, you know, say they've never done it before and they want to book a trip like that, how far in advance is
I would say, like, if you want that you know,
that peak spawn?
that peak, like, I would even say, like, you know, April, even May. Like May, the weather's so perfect that you could still. You're not going to catch those big spawn females, but the fishing is fantastic, and I know, like, it's hard to get in May because the weather is so perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, they encourage that.
So if you're going to book one for next year,
Yeah.
when should you be booking it now or?
We've only done it where we book so far ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I've never done it where it wasn't already booked because I'm kind of, you know, just filling in a spot for these trips.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry.
So, but yeah, they book, they book, you know, they booked for next year before we left.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, they have 30 boats. There's 30 trailers.
This outfitter does, or this guide service.
Yeah. And they're not the only one on the lake. So there's so many.
Yeah.
I like this one. They have a nice a bar and a marina right there. And, you know, you're kind of, you know, in rural Ohio, you're about a half hour from Sandusky and, you know, a half hour from Toledo. So it is kind of nice. There's a dollar store across the street. So if you can't find it at the gas station or the dollar store, or you can just always eat at the restaurant bar.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. You never really have to go anywhere.
Venture too far. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, and this kind of goes with, you know, what we were just with the Lake Erie trip here, is your love for fishing in general. Like that's your jam. And you and I have gone out quite a few times, kayak fishing, the river and some small lakes and stuff around here. But what is it for you? Like, what got you into fishing? Was this something that, like, you started doing as a kid in Iowa? Was this something you did with your dad or a relative, or, you know, what got you into fishing? Or was it something that for you started a little bit later in life?
Yeah, it started when I was a kid. We had a little trout stream not too far from our farm in Iowa, and it was kind of nice. You could maybe more in high school and in college, you could, you know, work your summer job and then stop before you got home and catch a couple trout.
Yeah,
fire them up on the grill. It was just kind of nice. So then as I moved through life, always trying to find decent places to fish, and then, you know, for me here, that's pretty much my go-to is the Milwaukee River.
Yeah. Which, but and it's not just the Milwaukee River, like just local, and that you're always looking for all sorts of.
Lake Michigan, I usually take 1 or 2 salmon trips a year.
Yeah.
You know, I've done a lot of fishing, and I lived in Florida for a while, so I got into saltwater fishing, and then you know, that's kind of hard to top. You always want to go back and you know, catch snook and tarpon, and I've been to Mexico and fished, and I've never caught a marlin, but I've had a couple on my line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done I've done quite a bit of fishing. I'll fish anything. I've fished a ton of catfish, which isn't too popular which is really slowed down. And since I've been in Wisconsin, I haven't, and I've been here since 2015. So that hobby kind of died, but yeah, I'll fish.
Like in terms of, yeah, because you said you were catching cat and Erie in that, and
oh yeah,
and you were wanting to keep them.
I wanted to keep it. Yeah, I wanted to keep the catfish in Lake Erie, but I got vetoed. if we're not keeping the white perch,
right?
the catfish isn't going to make the cut.
What are we doing? Why are we putting these fish back in?
Yeah,
they look delicious. Yeah, so you kind of got me into kayak fishing in that, which has been a lot of fun, and it's always something new in different segments and that we'll do. What was it about that? Just like, well, kayak is low maintenance, and
yeah, it's low maintenance, and one weird thing about the difference between Iowa and Wisconsin is that they're roughly the same size, but Wisconsin has twice as many people, 6 million roughly, right? Mm-hmm. So and it has what are the stats on deer hunting? Like 600,000 tags sold a year.
Well, yeah, it depends on what you're talking about. The numbers are going down.
Are they?
Pretty drastically. Yeah, we're losing, the baby boomers.
Yeah, okay.
And that are kind of aging. A lot of them are aging out of hunting and kind of giving it up. Mm-hmm. And even a lot of them were more so gun hunters. I mean, that's where most of the license sales is still at. But the numbers are drastically decreasing from what it was even 10 years ago.
According to the Wisconsin DNR, as of November 26, 2023, Wisconsin had sold 788,697 gun, bow, crossbow, sports, and conservation patron deer licenses.
Yeah, so that's all. That's across the board.
And then Iowa's like 50,000 or something like that.
Right.
So it's like 12 times as many sportsmen in Wisconsin than Iowa. So that translates across deer hunting, and that translates across fishing too. Mm-hmm. So in Iowa, some people fish, but not everybody does. But here in Wisconsin, I mean, they're sportsmen and they're everywhere. So it's kind of hard to find that little, piece of your own outdoors.
Yeah, that's wild. According to the Iowa DNR, 31,096 deer hunting licenses were sold to resident landowners and or tenants in 2022.
So so less than 1/20th, right? Mm-hmm. 20 times a sportsman in Wisconsin.
Yeah, that is crazy. Mm-hmm. And in Iowa, how many lakes are there? I mean, I know
3. No, I don't know.
3.
There's not that many, especially ones that aren't man-made. So for me, the kayak's just a way for you to kind of get away from everybody and find your own little piece of the outdoors. So
yeah, I think, and I've really enjoyed doing it with you. We've had quite a few really fun trips and really successful. But let's just talk about the kayak fishing part of it here. Let's say somebody, that sounds like a cool idea. Mm-hmm. I can't really afford a boat.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to deal with a boat because we all know that there's a lot of maintenance and headaches and stuff with owning a boat. If somebody wants to get into kayak, what would you say is the best way to get started? Is there a size kayak or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I like my kayak. I have a 15-foot. Trying to think what the brand name is.
I don't remember now either.
Native.
Yeah,
and you can stand up in it. It's really nice. It's a angler kayak. It's got a ton of room. It's super stable. One thing I don't like about it is that that hull that it has so you can stand in it, that U-shaped hull. Yeah. It sometimes when you hit rocks, it gets, it feels like you're going to flip even if it doesn't. I do like standing and being able to sight cast to fish on the river. I feel like, you can just get like a $300 kayak with a flatter bottom that's going to be better for skinny water. And we have so many small rivers and, creeks around here that you could fish in and that hold decent fish.
Yeah.
That, I almost feel like you and I, we kind of just took this plunge a couple years ago where like we don't stay in the kayak anymore.
Right.
Like we get out and we wade and we just get in the water, find the spots, and then if you get muddy, if you're wet, like it is what it is.
We just pull the leeches off. It's fine. Sometimes you find them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find them when you get home, like one stuck between your toes while you're in the shower. You're like,
that's funny. Yeah.
You got a little
Probably
tag along.
2 or 3 leeches a year, but
it's usually not too much. And there's times where there's certain honey holes, and the only place to stand is in knee deep mud, and that. So you're almost waist deep in water, but you're up to your knees in mud.
Yeah,
and that. And
Then
if
you're just turning around and using the leeches as bait, then, right?
no, not
the leeches usually aren't that big.
no, they're usually pretty small. Like I said, small enough where you don't see them until you're in the shower. That you got a little tag along buddy. That's happened.
That has happened.
Yeah.
That has happened for sure.
Yeah, I like, and personally, I like getting out. But that's the thing, though, too, is like with your kayak, like you said, being able to stand up in there and sight cast.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking on the river, you're looking, this side could be 6 inches deep, and the other side of the river there could be 8 feet. So you're looking for these holes in that are, where, especially if you're looking to hook up with the smallmouths and stuff in the river. And that, in fact, that picture I had posted for the promo for tonight's show or whatever was you and I doubling up on some smallmouths out there. We're not going to give any coordinates away.
Sure.
And that, but so getting out, but standing is a key thing. Like in the other kayak, when I've tried to stand it, and it's just like, I mean, and it's a fishing kayak, but there's just no stability, you can stand in it, but like even casting, you're like, all right, I'm gonna flip out of this thing here, but. So I think that's an important thing if you're going to get into this, that not just rely on it saying that you can stand up in it.
Right.
Because just because it says that doesn't mean it is. I would heavily research the reviews in that and see if it actually is. Whereas yours, like you're standing in it all the way down.
All the way down.
You're, if you want to, you could. Mm-hmm. And that is such a difference when you're now only, if you're sitting, you're only this far up off of the water with your eye line, to be able to see spot fish, it's a lot more difficult. That's why it is nice to be able to get out and wade in that water and set up on those holes.
One thing about when you're sight fishing those fish, I'll just stand and just kind of drift down the river, and then we'll see these big smallmouth, they'll spook, and they'll head upstream. And the funny thing is like you can throw to them and you just spooked them, throw to them, and they'll still hit. So that's been a really fun way to see the river and just lazily float down, see what fish you scare up, and then hit them on the backside. It's an
adventure every time you go. I would say, because you never know when there's going to be a spot where you have to portage out because of log jams and things like that.
Log jams, poison ivy.
There was a couple really, really tough log jams to get through where, and you got your rods in your rod holders. I mean, each of us are usually carrying 3 to 4 rods.
Right.
Set up with different baits, so we're not having to change out so much on each individual rod. This rod I got a spinner on, this one I've got Senko, different things like that, so you can quick make those changes. And then you got overhanging willows and all sorts of I mean, it can be really relaxing. And then there's other times where it's like there's so many obstacles. Last year with how low the river was, the amount of paddling we had to do through pads and weeds and stuff. Yeah, Drew, you got to.
Yeah, so to that point, one of our faithful here, Mike Mason, he loves his pedal drive and wants to know if you guys have a pedal drive and or paddle.
No,
love one. I would love one. I don't.
Right, but it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work in the rivers. The little rivers around here.
Yeah.
Sheboygan River, you know, like those little rivers, it wouldn't
Sections
work.
it would, like, you know, when you get like when we've done like down by Mequon, Thiensville and there, it gets really deep. I mean,
That's true.
People actually have piers on the river and actually have pontoon boats.
That's like a little dammed up lake there. Yeah.
Right, exactly. There are areas, but I mean, sometimes we're having to get out and drag through certain sections, and then you know, you go 70 yards downstream and now all of a sudden it's over your head deep, you know. So there's so much different structure and depth changes in the river. And that's what makes the river so unique, is finding that stuff and finding not just the log jams, but like just where almost many log jams, right? Where there's trees and stuff, and it's slowing down the water, and it's creating these dips down. And that, so last year we were casting in this one spot that we knew was usually like, you can get a couple casts in there and something big is usually in there. And he hooked into the biggest smallmouth I've ever seen. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I mean, an absolute tank, especially on the river. You're like, did you see that? I'm like, what am I hard of seeing? Like that when it rolled, because you're like, was that a northern? I'm like, no. Because you're like,
you were closer than I was.
Right.
Yeah.
I was closer to you. I'm like, no, that was a smallmouth. And then he's like, you're like, that's what I thought. But he's like, how big it was. But you lost it.
I broke the line.
One thing we haven't done is name that fish. We got to name that, like, you know,
Yeah, give him a kid.
give him a name. This legendary,
name. Yeah,
catfish hunter,
right? But he was huge. And then I think the next time we went in that same spot, he snagged in like I think it was the first carp we had ever caught out there.
Yeah.
You know, on a Senko.
Yeah, it was on a green tube.
Green tube. That's what it was.
Yeah. That was insane. And I hooked another one. It was like the carp were keyed in on that green tube that day early in the year. It was wild.
That thing was huge.
It was huge.
Like this. You're carrying it like.
Oh yeah,
like
I jumped in the water. I went after it.
Right.
I'm like, I'm landing that one.
Right. Well, I mean, you were worried that your rod was going to break.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing was huge. You know, and then we've caught some pretty decent northerns in there, which is just fun to do. You know, and spinners and rooster tails and things like that.
Spinners,
like
spoons.
Yeah.
A lot of sometimes crankbaits.
Yeah. It's a ton of fun. And then we've also ventured out then into some like hidden smaller lakes and that, where you have to like carry your kayak in. You know, there's no easy way about it. But when you get to these spots, the fishing is incredible, you know, and I think that's kind of a key to it, is you want to find these areas where nobody else is willing to go. I mean, even on the river, when you have those log jams, sometimes it's a good thing, because you know you're not going to get the casual kayakers and canoers and things like that going down anymore, because to get out, you are wading again in knee-deep mud, trying to get and not lose your tackle, not lose your rods, not break a rod, get it caught on something and snap the tip, which has happened.
Oh, yeah.
That's happened. And then trying to get back in, like you got it. It's
even the low water. I mean, that shuts down so much of the river, because you're going to have to get out and drag.
You're going to have to drag.
And
sometimes a long time.
Another pro for a cheaper kayak.
Right.
Like, it doesn't, you know.
Right. I mean, I guess it depends. I know seen Mike had another comment too about not going with the cheapo Walmart sit in kind. You want to kind of have the sit on top, like the open. You don't want to get the kayak, the yellow or blue.
So you're so
you
deep,
know,
yeah.
where you're
Tipsy and
yeah. I mean, that's
the other things I've done that I've bought where they're just worth their weight in gold, like those what are they, that metal rod that's like 9 feet, like my anchor rod.
yeah.
That totally changed the way. Again, like I don't always have to get out and to fish one hole in a prolonged time. I've messed around for a couple years with anchors and ropes, and it's always hard to position your kayak in the flow of the river exactly where you want to be.
Yeah.
And that I don't know what it's called, power rod, or
Right.
that's really, really helped a lot.
For sure, because in a lot of these cases, you have these holes, and you don't want to go over the top of them. You're trying to get way outside of them, but the current can be so much where you almost want to get yourself wedged in alongside a fallen down tree and that, or even like have a bungee cord or something in that and bungee yourself to something so that you can kind of stay put there and fish that spot for a little bit. It's something different every time. And there's times where we're like, wow, this honey hole here that has been so good is all of a sudden we can't get nothing to bite. But then you go, 200, 300 yards downstream and it's like, boom, it's just on in that one. You never know why or for what reason, but whether it be, is it a sunny day? How much shade is there? What's, the water temperature, all that stuff.
Do you remember that one time we went out there and you were like, let's just panfish? And we pulled out a bunch of panfish, which we usually only fish for smallies and
northerns, for the
northerns,
most part, yeah.
So just to, we just killed them, and that was kind of fun.
Right.
Something you normally don't do.
Not in the river, right.
But we had that fish fry coming up, our neighborhood fish fry that we needed to produce some fish for.
We needed some more fish.
So that was...
So yeah, we just did slip floats.
Yeah.
And I think did we just do crawlers? Mm-hmm. And we did really well, pretty well on that too. I mean, big bluegills, because it's like, and you're in these spots where people can't get to shore fish. Mm-hmm. They're just loaded with these just big old jumbo bluegills in certain areas. And yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, just something totally unexpected. I never would have woke up that day thinking, we're going to.
Yeah. I'm like, why don't we throw some slip floats on, just see here and see if we can land some bluegills to throw in for that fish fry. We did all right. It's a good time. All right, so we are at the halfway mark, you said there, Drew. So we're going to take a quick 5-minute intermission here. We're going to refill. I hope you guys do too, and join us for the second half here, and we'll keep talking a little bit of fishing.
What is an eponym? A person after whom a discovery, invention, or place is named or thought to be named. There are very few eponyms in the hunting industry. A product so popular and so functional, it becomes the act of the product.
All right, we are back. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Those of you that have, and if you're just joining us, welcome back to Midwest Racks and Rods Outdoor Show. We're with Matt Johannsen here. Pap in the house, and we're talking fishing. Boy, you're ready to get out there, aren't you?
I'm ready. I'm so ready, yeah.
I know life is crazy right now for us, but say when. I'm ready to go. Like, you know, I get asked sometimes by my wife and other people that just aren't really into fishing and that, how can you get out there at first light or right before and just be out there till dark? Mm-hmm. And that, is that not, I'm like, no, it's not, you know, even on slow days. Because you don't know, especially if you're on the river, or you don't know if you're on a lake too, right? When that bite is all of a sudden going to kick in. You know, we've seen it before plenty of times where you get that midday, early afternoon, after lunchtime, where all of a sudden the bite gets hot. It might be a small window, but all of a sudden, boom, 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 you know, we're hooking up on some really nice smallies. Or all of a sudden the northerns are super aggressive and that and going after everything. So even on a slow day, you never know when that's going to happen. You know, you never know. You're still always anticipating when
I want to fish every single rock, every single log, every single hole.
There's been times where we've spent way too much time in certain spots. We're like, we have a long
way to go.
We got to, you know, and then you're just busting, paddling like crazy, you know, for half a mile till you get to that other spot. And then even in those cases, you're like, oh, we should really just at least get a few casts in this spot here.
Yeah, just one more cast.
You know, one more cast. That's how it always is. And yeah, it can be a little exhausting by the time you get done with a long day. You're going, you know, 8 to 10, sometimes longer miles and that, depending upon what sections we're doing. It's you don't really want to get off the water, you know, until it's dark out. So it's a blast. I highly recommend, you know, if you're looking to do something different in fishing and you're not really wanting to spend the money on an actual boat and going out on bigger lakes and stuff, it's a fun way to catch some really nice fish and have a good time and have an adventure in the outdoors. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about anyway. So, and then having enough fish to fry up for the block parties and the Halloween parties and stuff.
So real quickly, just wanted to let you guys know we do have the Midwest Racks and Rods Outdoor Show line is open. Dial in now with all your questions, comments, hate, love, whatever you got. 262-235-0454.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get any hate, but that's all right. We might deserve a little bit.
I just figured it'd be hate for me.
Everybody loves Drew, though. Like, where's Drew?
That's
Drew.
I could give you a whole list of people that do not like me. Right off the top of my head.
My list might be longer. I don't know. Here we go again. Beating on the slide. Yeah. Feel free to call in, guys, if you want. Tell us about, you know, how you like to fish, what you've done.
Have you fished this year?
Yeah. Have you been out fishing this year so far? You know, love to hear some fishing stories from you. Don't be afraid to call in. We don't bite. Not too hard anyways, right? All right. While we see if anybody wants to call in, let's get into some fish tales, right? Let's hear, you got any good stories for us, Matt? And yeah, Matt is the king of stories.
Yeah, for just so everyone is aware here.
What the pap.
Matt not only is a great storyteller, but will also just, at the drop of a hat, will ask the most random question ever. So, you guys in Wisconsin, do you guys like to shotgun beers and jump off of buses? Because there was this time in Iowa, or this time in Florida, or this time in wherever the hell you were in the world at that moment. That like, no, Matt, no, we've never done that.
Yeah, I wish you could see how Drew's doing it too. We got to get that others. Yeah, like, so.
Dives into it.
Have you guys ever done this? Because this one time in Iowa, I was hanging out with Slipknot.
Yeah, I wish.
Pat, pat.
I wish.
All right, I know you got some stories.
Yeah,
What do you got?
I got a good one for you here. My wife, she used to always want to go out on all the charter fishing trips with me, and that's not all bad. But we were in Mexico, and I love a good deal, and so you can spend $1,000 a day on a guide and go out sailfish, marlin fishing, whatever. But I found this charter, and it was about $350 a day, and it was a 27-foot boat. You're still going off, 3, 4, 5 miles offshore, and getting into that water for wahoo and sailfish, mahi, whatnot. So this boat, it's pretty beat up, $350 a day. The guy shows up, my wife's on there, and we do okay. We catch what do we catch? King mackerel and some mahi and some barracuda. But then we're still a couple miles offshore. The trip's running down, and the boat won't start. And we're like, "What is going on?"
And how far were you?
We're 2 or 3 miles off.
Yeah.
So you could see land. It wasn't that bad, and it was really calm. It was Cozumel, so in between the island and Mexico. So real calm waters. And the guy's like, the guy's probably 4'11" and 100 pounds.
Easy.
He
Careful.
He's like, no.
Drew's like, I resemble
worries.
that.
He opens up the engine compartment and he starts tinkering around and banging on things. And he grabs this can of starting fluid, and the aerosol nozzle is broken off. So he takes this rusted fish hook and he sticks it in there and shoots it everywhere. So then when he goes to start the engine, all of a sudden, whoa, it just starts on fire. And so now, there's 4 of us on the boat, the captain, the first mate, my wife and I, and she's not loving the fact that the engine's on fire and we're so far offshore. And so he got out the fire extinguisher and put it out, and then it wouldn't start. And then he tried it again, and he started on fire again. And it was a bad deal. But the good news was everybody knows everybody in Cozumel, and he looked across and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got a cousin that works at that resort." So he calls up the cousin, and the cousin talks to the right people, and all of a sudden there's this like 300-pound dude on a like 1995 Miami Vice teal and pink jet ski comes out, and he's gonna rescue us, but he won't let us on the boat until we pay him $40. So I'm not the smallest guy in the world, and we got like, so me and my wife and I and the guy, and we're all hanging off the back of him and
on a jet ski.
On a jet ski. Yeah, like 700 pounds on this jet ski going, whatever. And the guy just like doesn't miss a beat. He just like, we just pull up right into this like all-inclusive resort. He just drives the jet ski right up into the beach. And then we just get in, and he's like, we go through like the service kitchen area and all that. And we went out, the guide had it all set up. He had a cab waiting for us. And we made it back to our hotel in like 10 minutes.
Damn right he had a cab for you. You had to pay another $40.
$40.
To get out of a bad situation that he started.
Right.
I was starting to think that the whole thing was set up.
Right.
No. It was amazing how he had it all set up.
Was it $40?
It was $40. The captain paid it. We didn't pay it. He paid it.
Okay. All right.
Gotcha.
But he wouldn't let us on until the captain gave him $40. So that was that. Now the thing is, I still had that trip booked the next day.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, I'm not I'm done. I'm done taking your trips. And so then the next day I show up and I look at the guy, and the guy, I was hoping anybody but him, anybody but that boat. And he shows up and he's just like, hey, it is what it is. He had taken it. There was something with the fuel line. He took the fuel container, just like had a gas can, and he just had it sitting in the middle of the boat, and he had routed the fuel line directly into that, and then to seal it, he just used like an old Walmart sack.
Oh my God.
And we still went out and we fished all day with that Walmart sack seal thing.
So you just had like a hole punched in for the line to go.
Yeah. And then to seal that, he used a Walmart sack, and then he screwed the cap on over that.
Oh my God.
We fished all day with that, and then that night on the way back.
When you say we,
me and him, just me and the captain. Me and the little 100-pound captain. The fishing was okay. But we come back in. He pulls out a bottle of Passport Scotch. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
It's like, bottom shelf Scotch.
Right.
And he was like, "This is what I got." And I told him, "Mi padre is favorito." Told him it was my dad's favorite. And then we just sat there and traded pulls and just went back in, and life was good. So
Spectacular.
yeah.
And what did you catch on that trip? On that second day?
Just a couple mahi and some barracuda. But you know what else he did for me? There's that protected national reserve where like the snorkeling's incredible, the scuba's incredible there, and we stopped, and he was like, "No, keep your rod down, but we can hand line here." And when I got back in, you're like, "Oh man, that was like a protected area that we were hand lining these fish out of." Man, that's.
Who gets the ticket on that one? If you get
it'd
caught?
have to be him. Wouldn't it?
You would think.
Like, gosh,
Be like-
I can't imagine. It's a bad way. If you end up
I
in a
have no
Mexican
idea.
prison over that, like that's like
Right.
bad luck.
Honestly, I feel like that's how the story probably should have ended.
I feel like that was like the beginning to the movie Get the Gringo.
Right.
You're right.
This is how he ends up in Mexican prison.
I was hand lining triggerfish over a coral reef.
Wow. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's, well,
So that can't be the most bizarre fishing story that you have, though, right? It's got to be.
I don't know. That is pretty bizarre. I'll say one of it was a bad day for Chris, but the whole, like, looking back at it now is kind of funny.
Flowage?
No,
Because that was pretty funny, too. How he trolled for, what,
a long way.
miles and miles thinking it was out of gas,
Yeah.
and it wasn't. The key just wasn't in the ignition.
No,
correctly.
he didn't.
The kill.
The kill switch cable wasn't like in all the way. Like it was there, but it was
He just
pulled
wiggled it.
down just enough that it wouldn't start. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing is when we got back, it was on our last day. So we weren't able to fish on the last morning. We were only going to fish for a few hours and then we were going to pack up and head back home. And he had taken it into the shop and stuff. And they're like, "Yeah, we figured out what was wrong. It's just that's the safety."
You took that into a shop? You
Yeah,
told the mechanic?
Yeah, that's all it was.
I hate that.
There was, I mean, and then these are just those kinds of things with boats. There's so many issues with, every spring trying to get that boat running and stuff. And, and you wait till spring and then you try to get it in anywhere and everybody's booked solid. It was tough a few times. But, no, so him and I go out on Fox Lake and neither one of us had been out there in quite a few years. And it's dark out when we launch, and we knew about this area, and anybody who's fished it knows what I'm talking about. And I'll get into that here in a second, but I don't know what we were doing, and I wasn't paying attention. He's driving the boat, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 bang. You know, he's hitting rocks like crazy. And he's like, what in the world is going on in that? And we hit this rock reef there. And I look up, and it's boat, all the way around, like fishing off of this, clearly. And I was like, dude, we're in that rock reef. We're like, no, and we're like not that far away from these boats, and not a single one of these guys like shouted out, like, don't go in there, don't go in there. Messed up his prop so bad. Luckily, I mean, for as bad, I thought, oh man, the lower unit is screwed up on this thing. And in the moment, I'm like, I feel really bad about the situation. I think I was messing with rods or something. He might tell you that I was supposed to be navigating.
I guarantee.
Yeah.
He might say I was supposed to be navigating.
Were the guys laughing around you in the other boats?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I believe it.
Yeah. Like, which is a really shitty thing, you know? I mean, who wouldn't want to be told? All this, right? So, well, we're fine. We actually end up fishing all day or most of the day, and then we're leaving and we're coming down a channel. And we're going nice and slow. In fact, there's other boats, and we're even kind of trimmed up a little bit, right? And there's usually stumps and those kinds of things that are marked. You know, there's usually buoys and stuff. And there's boats like zipping by us, heading back in to the launch. And we understood later on why they were going so fast, because they were staying up high. Sure enough, he hits the one and only freaking rocker stump in this thing. It just absolutely shears off his prop, like, so bad.
Did you think you were going to fall out of the boat?
No, it wasn't, but it was like, bang, you know, like there was no mistaking. And he's like, you got shit me. Like, he's so pissed. He's like, this was the worst day ever, you know, because the fishing wasn't even that good either. He trims that thing up, and it's just all gnarled up. Like, he's like, this is going to be another lower unit again. I mean, we can laugh at it now, but like, when we were out in that thing, like, how stupid we must have looked. Because like, neither one of us are like either fully paying attention to where we were. Right. And it's clearly marked.
Right.
It's clearly marked. And we're, all of a sudden when this happens, we look up and we're like, we're right in the middle of this thing. And there's just boats all the way around us in that. Like, you just wanted to like crawl under the boat and, you know, so and hide. Like, it's so embarrassing. Like,
you remember when we were in the when we were up on the flowage,
mm-hmm.
and it was dark, and we were heading back towards camp, and that bog moved. Our defining landmark to get us back. And Chris is like, I feel like we should have hit that turn by now. And I'm just thinking, this is it. This is how we go. Like, we're in the middle of freaking nowhere. No one has a light or a torch bright enough to really kind of even light the way. Lo and behold, you know, long and the short, we get back into where we need to be, only to find another boat just circling and circling.
Right.
Like, they're trying to find a point.
They're lost too. But so, by that time, we had already figured out.
We figured out where we were going, and we were able to help them get to where they needed to go. But yeah, I thought,
because I said, Chris, I think we should stop. I said, I think that boat, I think those guys are lost.
Well, they even started flashing their light at us.
Right. And yeah, I said, turn around and go back. And we helped those guys, and they were almost out of fuel too.
Right. To make matters worse.
Right. They were starting to get in the panic mode there, because that's how it is up there. You know, you got these giant bogs, you know, and they move. They don't always move, but I mean, to the point where they'll block certain areas, and you know, the DNR has to come out, try to hook up to these things. And I'm talking,
and tow them.
Yeah. And try to move them, and that, especially like by trying to get underneath bridges and things like that.
Well, there's one bog in particular that the locals every spring will get out and have like 20 boats and just nose up to it and push it out of this bay in order to open up prime
And it's
fishing
acres
spots.
big.
Right. Huge.
I mean, it's acres big.
This is the spot where it's like the Wisconsin's boundary waters. Like you can camp up there. Are there campsites?
Yeah, there's
around
actual
us?
islands, solid islands.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful up there, and fishing. I mean, now when we went, where did we go? Middle of September, and that the fishing wasn't great. We got in great crappie bites in that, and we did catch some really nice. That one walleye that Chris pulled in, that was a 30+ incher.
Yeah. No, it was a
And
nice, really nice walleye.
I don't remember exactly how big it was, but that was a really big walleye one morning, and but it's just absolutely gorgeous.
And you're bringing in all your own live bait and everything.
Yeah,
To me, that's like one of those fishing trips that, because of just how serene it is and beautiful, that even if the bite is bad, you don't necessarily care.
No.
You're on a camping trip with your buddies, you're having a great time. I don't want to say that the fishing became secondary, but
no,
because when we did get on the bite, it was super exciting, and we're having, it was one of those moments too where like, God damn it, now my line's tangled. Well, just take my rod. I'll figure this out. And,
right, yeah.
you're just trying to get them while you can. It was a great time.
Because those crappie bites are right at dusk, and it's getting dark, and we had 4 guys on a little boat,
Right.
and that. I mean, we were. I mean, it worked. It was fine. I mean, there was enough room, because a lot of times, what you would do there is you hook up to these bogs, right? Pull up alongside of them, and you bungee up, and then you're just jigging right along the side of those bogs, because the fish are underneath them and that around those edges. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Definitely want to get back up there again.
Yes.
For sure. But yeah, you can camp right on the islands, and
You're tent camping.
yeah,
Two two-man tents.
yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, I want my own tent.
I was the one with Chris.
I know, but it didn't matter. I mean, the fabric is so thin, it literally sounded like a Peterbilt was driving through our campsite. Good Lord.
Yeah, you remember the ice fishing trip we did with Chris
Yeah.
and that. You were outside of that room though. You were in that like loft
Oh,
area.
right. I kind of had
And that.
my own little place.
Yeah, but I'm sure you still had to have heard it though.
So yeah,
I don't know.
We've talked about our ice fishing trip and stuff. Matt obviously is one of the guys that joined us the last couple of years now.
Yeah, got in a few of them with us.
What a great time that is, eh?
Yeah, that's awesome. That is really awesome.
It's just a nice little team building event. Get together, get the whole team together, and it's, man, what a blast.
Yeah, it's been fun for me too, because I don't know how to ice fish, and you move to Wisconsin, and it's quite a bit colder here, and you need to have those winter hobbies. So
Yeah,
like that
keep yourself
nice.
sane. Yeah, for sure.
Learn how to use a Vexlar and all that.
Yeah,
Learn that you need to buy a Vexlar, because what a game changer that is.
oh yeah. I mean, and everything's changing so much
Oh, yeah,
in that
definitely.
with the technology and stuff. Like Vexlar's not. It's so secondary now.
Was that we were talking about that a few episodes ago? Was that Live Scope?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's been a couple, people that have been out there with LiveScope just killing it.
Yeah, I mean that's a hot topic. It's a hot topic in the fishing world, and that nowadays, is it too unfair of an advantage? I mean, to me, it makes no difference to me. Like what you put on your boat, that's up to you. I think ultimately at the end of the day, it just should come down to bag limits. That's the only thing, like how easy you want to make it for yourself is one thing.
Sure.
And it's up to, the DNR to set bag limits, and then there's not an issue. Who cares? So, all right. So it may take this guy all day to catch the same amount of fish, if he doesn't want to buy a live scope or, whatever Garmin, the latest Helix or whatever is out there, that's fine. And I'm not talking about tournament fishing or anything like that. That's kind of above me, but, I don't care. It's the same thing in the hunting world too. Like what you want to use for equipment makes no difference to me.
Well,
As long as it's all within the regulations and you're not breaking the law, I don't care what you do. Why should I care what you do? Why should anybody care what I do?
I think that's a great question to you, Matt. So we kind of got on this topic, right, where we were discussing the ethics behind it, right? To my point is, at some point, technology is going to keep advancing.
It's always
Started with longbows, and to advance now where we're using compounds and crossbows. And so not to get too far in depth in that regard, but what is your take on, I guess, the ethics of fishing? How do you feel about certain technology and its usefulness?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought long and hard about, we saw those guys just like crush the crappie limit that one day, and and we didn't do bad, but we didn't we weren't limiting out
right
on crappie.
Yeah,
and and we've seen people just pull out bass and northern after northern. So I mean, yeah, that really it made me think: do I want to spend $2,000 on a live scope?
Yeah,
and also, would I put that on a kayak? And the answer is, I've thought about it. So I know the laws are a little bit different. In Iowa, I have that thermal viewer, and I know that's not legal in Wisconsin, but in Iowa it is. And I really don't know how to deer hunt very well. So, I've used that before and I've used it to track before, and it's been awesome. But,
so
I guess
the thermal technology is legal
in Iowa,
yeah, for deer hunting. Really?
So, there's one time one of my buddies, he had a family emergency and said, "Hey, I have to be on the road by 8:30 in the morning." And so, got up that next day and started walking out to the woods, probably at 5:15 in the morning. And I just had the thermal viewer and I just kept walking, and I'm like, I can see a signature up there. And then we just laid down and
waited till legal shooting light. Yeah.
Yep. And then that was it. And like, hey, how about you get on the road at 7:30?
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I think we bring this up quite often on this show, and it's definitely a topic of conversation. Is at what point is technology too much? It's constantly changing every year at the ATA shows, and that there's something new. I mean, built-in range finders in your sights and for your compounds, 90% let off on compounds. And then the crossbow conversation comes up. It's like, well, that's already drawn. Well, I got to draw this back. But I'm like, okay, once you draw it back, you can hold it there a long time with that much let off. Yeah, but you're still moving in the tree. Yeah, whatever, right? That's all. Makes really no difference to me.
Oh, and your compound is good up to 100 yards.
Your crossbow,
right?
But we know guys that are accurate at 100 yards with compounds, target shooting, anyways. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think I don't think it's about hunters regulating other hunters or fishermen regulating other fishermen. That's why we have agencies involved, regardless of how you feel about these agencies, like the DNR or whatever your department is for whatever state you're in, for them to do that. That's for them to decide. And yeah, you're going to have the debate, well, they screw up this and they screw up that. I can agree with that too. You know, they don't always get it right either, but I don't know why we should have to fight amongst ourselves about it.
Do you ever feel like the way you harvest your home waters, the ones that you fish every weekend, is totally different than like you go out to Erie and you're like, I want every single fish.
I think that's 100%. Oh, that's a great thought right there for sure. I mean, it's no different than for me the way I manage hunting my leases versus if I go out of state and hunt public land. You know, as to what like. Yeah, it's last day. Yeah, I'm going to shoot that 2-year-old, and that because I'm filling my tag. I spent X amount of dollars, and I only have, I'm not going to be able to get back down here. Did that in Ohio. Like, it just is what it is. Like, so, yeah, that's a really good question.
That's a very valid question, right?
Yeah.
And point.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
You know, you hear stories in Wisconsin about like the white bass run or whatever, and you go a couple hours, I'm going to keep every white bass that's in the limits.
yeah. But if it's legal, it's legal, right?
If it's legal, it's legal. But I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that in my home waters. The 5 or 6 places that I normally fish, and I know I've caught the same bass over and over, and I wouldn't do that. So it's kind of it's an interesting take where I'm on one end, I'm like, absolutely use the thermal viewer, keep
Whatever advantage you can,
whatever,
because
fill the coolers.
it's not my wood, it's not my water.
And
Right. I mean, how many guys have that mentality? That's a really, really valid
it really
point.
is.
And then you're going to get into those conversations where it's like, well, then it should cost more, like we need to raise prices and for non-resident sportsmen, whether it be hunting or fishing and things like that. So, but at that point, by raising it, aren't you just encouraging it that much more? Like, again, like I said, I spent all this money for an out-of-state day. I'm shooting something. I'm coming home with something.
Right.
Is that almost encouraging that kind of behavior then? Because like,
Also a fair question, point too, right? I mean, yeah,
I think so.
absolutely. If you have X amount of dollars stuck into it, you're going to want to make sure that you're successful, regardless
Bringing
of the
some venison
situation.
home or bringing some fish home.
Fill the freezer, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. So, Matt, anything else you want to touch on? Did you think of any other stories?
I feel like we need a
I know.
pet story.
I don't even.
Don't get all bashful on me now.
No,
I don't. Nothing. Off the top of my head,
nothing
no.
striking yet. Yeah, nothing PG or PG-13.
Well,
I'm
that's
sure.
right. Right.
That's
Because
ultimately.
I can think of a couple off the top of my head, but maybe for
It's tough to go on the record.
right for it to be officially out there.
Right,
And then
right.
Around the campfire is one
Sure,
thing, but
sure.
yeah, I get that. So, this was really great to have you on, man. I know it was kind of somewhat of a last minute
Yeah.
thing here. We wanted to have you on here. That was going to happen anyways. So, but I'm glad it worked out for you to come and join us this week. Glad that Drew and I were able to get back in here. We got some other shows that we're trying to work out and get lined up here. Trying to sort through people's schedules, and life right now is a challenge to say the least. Luke, our producer, has got some dates that aren't going to coincide with Drew, and then we're hopefully going to have Nick Faber back in here to co-host a couple shows as well. We're going to kind of sift through, but we got some great guests lined up, and we just got to get those dates lined up. So I'd love to tell you guys for sure we're going to have a show next week, but it's life, and our life is crazy right now. But
Definitely is. And if
we will
keep
definitely
the
keep you.
prayers pouring in, that would be great.
Yeah, and we'll keep you posted for sure, as much as we possibly can. And thanks for bearing with us as we navigate this whole thing. So, If you guys haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, I don't know who's watching on YouTube versus Facebook right now. We are streaming the show live on our YouTube channel. We would really, really appreciate if, even if you typically watch on Facebook, head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe and like us over there. Hit that notifications button. Then you'll always know. You'll get that notification that we're doing a live show, and you won't miss us if that's something that's important to you.
It might not be important to many, but I feel like it's important to some. And that's
sure.
what matters.
Exactly. So, as always, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Midwest Racks and Rods Outdoor Show. Until next time, always outdoors.